Yesterday I blogged about using org mode and noweb to create Python files that have doctests in the docstrings. If you've ever written doctests, you know it's sort of a pain. You have to get the indentation here correct. You need the leading interactive REPLs characters, and you have to paste the output in a particular way that is able to work with the doctest module. I find that kind of tedious, and also I like to run the examples first, and then if you change them, things can be annoying to update the doc strings. In this approach, our doc tests are going to be created automatically from our tests that we run in the subsequent source blocks. So this syntax here is called noweb, and what this does in org mode is it will run a source block called doctest with this argument and replace this whole thing with a string that is the output of that block. I'll talk about the block at the end. What we're eventually going to do is tangle this file out to test.py, and that will extract all the blocks that have tangle test.py into that file, and that should be a Python file that we can use in regular Python code. So the idea here is that I have a source block here. When I run this, it loads into memory, and it is in this Jupyter kernel that is defined here, and I can use it down here to see that this example is true. So a function of 5 is equal to 0.2 because that's 1 divided by 5. So this is an example of a doc test I might want to put into up here for doc test 1, and this corresponds to this named block. I can do some other examples. This one will raise an exception. I want to test that it does and make sure that that's the case. So here we end up dividing by 0 when we get this division traceback. And finally, just to see a doc test that has additional indentation, you might choose to look at a doc test like this, where it will just print for a variety of values of I and make sure that you get the right thing. Okay, so each one of these, what I want is this block to go into the doc test and these results to be inserted for the noweb expansion. Now, for my test, we would like to have this little snippet here. This is just dunder name equals dunder main, and when that's true, we're running our Python module as a script, and we want to run the doc tests in that case. So far, all of this has just been in org mode in these text source blocks, and we can tangle that. If we run this, then this gets tangled into a file, test.py. Let's check it out. And this is the file that gets generated from that command. You can see here are the doc tests. There are 3 of them, and they look pretty reasonably formatted. We can actually run those down here. So if I run this file like this, now this is not going to run in my Jupyter kernel. This is an independent Python shell command. And when you run this, the output looks like this. So we see what we're expecting, that it's okay. We see all of these things, that there are 3 tests in 2 items, and that they all passed. So that's all there is. Now we have a Python module. Since this is in the current directory, we can import it and run it, and that's that. So the last thing I'll talk about just briefly is how the doc test block works. So down here is the named block for doc test. All it does is it takes one variable, the name, and it goes to a source block by that name and grabs the body of that block. So that is the doc test that we're going to run. And then we get the results from that block, and we do some cleanup. So we remove the verbatim stuff at the beginning of the lines. We quote any quotes that are in the lines, and there's a little heuristic here to detect when there's a traceback because you write a slightly different form of output for it. So that's how the noweb expansion in org mode works to create Python with doc tests that you have run yourself, and you don't have to do the copying and pasting because the formatting is done for you. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope it's more clear now how this works. Thanks.